Tom was tired. His hands hurt from working all day. He was a carpenter, and he made things from wood. Tables, chairs, and shelves. He was good at his job, but he didn't make much money. Today had been hard. A rich man had said Tom's prices were too high. The man wanted to pay less, but Tom knew his work was worth more. In the end, Tom had walked away without the job. Now he worried about paying his rent. Tom lived in a small apartment on the edge of town. The walls were thin, and the roof leaked when it rained. But it was home. He had a small workshop behind the building where he made his furniture. It was getting dark as Tom drove home in his old truck. The truck was 15 years old and made strange noises. Tom knew he should fix it, but he didn't have the money. His phone rang. It was his landlord, Mr. Peters. "Tom, you're late on rent again," said Mr. Peters. "I need the money by Friday." "I'll have it," Tom said, though he wasn't sure how. "I promise." Tom hung up and sighed. He had 3 days to find $800. His bank account had only $230. He would need to sell something fast or find a new job. The sky grew dark and rain began to fall. Big drops hit the windshield of Tom's truck. The wipers scraped across the glass, making it hard to see. Tom slowed down and leaned forward, squinting through the rain. The road was empty except for his truck. Not many people came this way. It was a back road that cut through the woods. Tom always took this way home because it had less traffic. As he rounded a bend, Tom saw something ahead. His headlights showed a car on the side of the road. It was half in a ditch. Someone was standing next to it, waving their arms. Tom slowed down. His mother had always told him to be careful of strangers on the road. But he couldn't just drive past someone who needed help. Not on a night like this. He pulled over and rolled down his window a little. Rain splashed inside. "Do you need help?" Tom called out. A woman walked toward him. She was soaking wet. Her fancy clothes were covered in mud. She limped as she walked, and her face showed pain. "My car slid off the road," she said. "I tried to push it out, but I hurt my leg." Tom looked at the car. It was much nicer than his truck. It was the kind of car rich people drove. The woman didn't look like she belonged on this lonely road in her nice clothes and shiny shoes. "I'll help you," Tom said, getting out of his truck. The rain soaked him right away. "I'm Tom." "I'm Sarah," the woman said. She didn't smile. She looked worried and in pain. Tom checked her car. The front wheel was deep in mud. With the rain making everything worse, there was no way to push it out now. "We can't get your car out tonight," Tom said. "It's too stuck. Do you have someone who can pick you up?" Sarah shook her head. "My phone has no signal out here." Tom noticed she was shivering. Her thin coat wasn't made for this weather, and she kept shifting weight off her right foot. "You're hurt," Tom said. "Let me take you to a doctor. There's a small hospital in town." Sarah looked at her car, then at Tom's old truck. For a moment, Tom thought she would say no. Rich people didn't usually trust someone like him. "Thank you," she said finally. "That would be very kind." Tom helped her into his truck. He turned up the heat, though it didn't work very well. As they drove toward town, he wondered who this woman was and why she was on this lonely road alone. What Tom didn't know was that Sarah wasn't just any woman, and meeting her would change his life forever. Tom drove carefully on the wet roads. His old truck splashed through puddles as rain hit the windows. Next to him, Sarah sat quietly. She kept her hurt leg still and looked out at the dark road. "The hospital is about 20 minutes away," Tom said. He wanted to fill the silence. Sarah nodded. "Thank you again for stopping. Not everyone would." Tom shrugged. "My dad taught me to help people in need. He was a carpenter too." "You're a carpenter?" Sarah asked, seeming interested. "Yes, I make furniture, tables, chairs, cabinets, that kind of thing." Sarah turned to look at him better. "Do you have your own shop?" "Just a small workshop behind my apartment. I dream of having a real store one day, But Tom stopped. He didn't want to talk about his money problems. But what? Sarah asked. It's hard to get ahead, Tom said simply. People want cheap furniture from big stores. They don't want to pay for handmade things that last. Sarah nodded like she understood. Quality costs more but lasts longer. Some people forget that. They arrived at the small hospital. The emergency room wasn't busy. Tom helped Sarah inside, letting her lean on him as she limped through the doors. A nurse came quickly with a wheelchair. What happened? She asked. Car accident. I think I hurt my ankle, Sarah explained. I'll wait here, Tom said, pointing to the chairs in the waiting room. Sarah looked surprised. You don't have to wait. I can call someone. It's okay, Tom said. I want to make sure you're all right. The nurse took Sarah away. Tom sat down and checked his phone. It was already 9:30 p.m. He was tired and hungry. He should go home and try to find a paying job for tomorrow. But he couldn't leave Sarah stranded. 2 hours passed. Tom dozed in the uncomfortable chair. Then he heard someone say his name. Tom, are you still here? He opened his eyes. Sarah stood there with the doctor. Her foot was wrapped and she had crutches. Just a bad sprain, she told Tom. No breaks. The doctor looked at Tom. Are you her husband? No, Tom said quickly. Just helping out. Well, she needs rest for a few days. No driving, the doctor said before walking away. Sarah looked at Tom. I need to get to a hotel. And tomorrow I'll need to call a tow truck for my car. Tom thought for a moment. There's only one hotel in town, and it's expensive. I have a couch you can sleep on tonight if you want. It's not fancy, but it's clean. Sarah studied his face. Tom realized how this must sound to her, a stranger offering his home. She had no reason to trust him. I understand if you'd rather go to the hotel, he added quickly. Actually, I'll take the couch, Sarah said, surprising him. I can tell you're a good person, Tom. They drove to Tom's small apartment. Tom felt embarrassed as he opened the door. The place was clean but very basic. His furniture was nice. He had made it himself. But everything else was old or cheap. Sorry, it's not much, he said. Sarah looked around. Her eyes stopped on a beautiful wooden bookcase against the wall. It had detailed carvings of trees on the sides. Did you make that? She asked, pointing. Tom nodded. Yes, one of my favorite pieces. Sarah walked to the bookcase and ran her fingers over the carvings. This is amazing work, Tom. Really beautiful. For the first time that night, Tom felt proud instead of poor. Someone who clearly had money was admiring his work. The couch is comfortable, Tom said, bringing out extra blankets. Bathroom is down the hall. I'll make you breakfast in the morning before I go to work. Thank you, Sarah said. Then she asked, what job do you have tomorrow? Tom looked down. I don't have one yet, but I need to find something. Rent is due soon. Sarah nodded but said nothing more. She didn't know that by this time tomorrow, Tom's life would be completely different. Tom woke up early the next morning. The sun was just coming up. He quietly made coffee, trying not to wake Sarah, who was sleeping on his couch. He needed to find work today. The $800 for rent wouldn't appear by itself. As he drank his coffee, he heard movement. Sarah was awake, sitting up on the couch. Good morning, Tom said. Coffee? Yes, please, Sarah said. She looked around the small apartment in the morning light. You have a nice place. Tom laughed a little. It's very small. But thank you. He brought her coffee and some toast. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. I called a tow truck for your car, Tom said. They'll take it to Mike's garage in town. Mike is honest. He won't overcharge you. That's very kind, Sarah said. She took a small sip of coffee. Tom, I need to tell you something. Tom sat down, worried. Had he done something wrong? My name isn't just Sarah, she said. It's Sarah Chen. I own Chen Technologies. Tom's mouth fell open. Everyone knew Chen Technologies. It was one of the biggest computer companies in the country. Its main office was in the city, about 50 miles away. "You're that Sarah Chen?" Tom asked. He couldn't believe it. Sarah nodded. "Yes, I was driving back from a meeting when my car went off the road." Tom felt stupid. He had given one of the richest women in the state his couch to sleep on. She probably had houses bigger than his whole apartment building. "Why didn't you say something?" he asked. "Because you treated me like a normal person," Sarah said. "You helped me without knowing who I was. That's rare in my world." Tom didn't know what to say. He just nodded. "I want to pay you back for your kindness," Sarah continued. She reached into her purse and took out a business card. She wrote something on the back. "This is my personal phone number. I want you to call me today." "Why?" Tom asked, confused. "I need new furniture for my office," Sarah explained. "After seeing your bookcase, I want you to make it." Tom couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Me? Make furniture for Chen Technologies?" "Just for my personal office, to start," Sarah said. "If I like it, maybe more later." A knock at the door interrupted them. It was the taxi Sarah had called. "Think about it," Sarah said as she stood up carefully on her crutches. "Call me this afternoon." After Sarah left, Tom sat alone in his apartment, staring at her card. This had to be a joke, right? Why would someone like Sarah Chen want his furniture? He looked at the bookcase Sarah had admired. It was good work. He knew that, but good enough for the office of a millionaire. Tom spent the morning in his workshop, fixing a chair for Mrs. Wilson next door. His mind kept going back to Sarah's offer. Finally, at 2:00 p.m., he took out his phone and called the number on the card. He expected a secretary to answer. Instead, it was Sarah herself. "Tom, I'm glad you called," she said. "Can you come to my office tomorrow? Bring pictures of your work." "Yes, I can do that," Tom said, his heart beating fast. "Good," Sarah said. "My driver will pick you up at 10:00 a.m. That night, Tom couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about meeting Sarah at her company. He had seen pictures of the Chen Technologies building on TV. It was tall and made of glass, nothing like the places he usually went. What would he wear? What would he say? He had never been in a place like that before. As he lay in bed, Tom wondered if helping a stranger on a rainy night was about to change his whole life. At exactly 10:00 a.m. the next day, a long black car stopped in front of Tom's apartment. A man in a black suit got out and knocked on Tom's door. "Mr. Wilson, I'm here to take you to Ms. Chen's office," the driver said. Tom nodded. He was wearing his only good shirt and his cleanest jeans. He had taken pictures of his best work and put them in a folder. His hands were shaking a little. "Ready?" the driver asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Tom said quietly. The ride to the city took almost an hour. Tom stared out the window at the tall buildings as they entered the city. He had only been here a few times before. "That's it," the driver said, pointing ahead. "Chen Technologies." The building was the tallest one around. It was all glass and steel, shining in the sun. Tom felt very small looking at it. Inside, the lobby was huge. The floor was shiny white stone. People in nice clothes walked quickly, talking on phones or carrying laptops. "Mr. Wilson for Ms. Chen," the driver told a woman at the front desk. The woman looked at Tom with surprise. He knew he didn't look like the usual visitors to this place, but she smiled and said, "Please take the special elevator to the top floor." The special elevator was fast. Tom's ears popped as it went up. When the doors opened, he was in another world. The top floor was beautiful. The walls were covered in art. The floor was soft carpet. Through big windows, Tom could see the whole city spread out below. "Tom, you're here." Sarah walked toward him. She was still using one crutch but looked much better than last night. Today she wore a blue suit that probably cost more than Tom's truck. "This way to my office," she said. Sarah's office was bigger than Tom's whole apartment. One whole wall was glass, looking out over the city. Her desk was large and made of dark wood, but Tom could see it wasn't well made. "Sit down," Sarah said, pointing to a chair. "Did you bring pictures of your work?" Tom handed her the folder. His hands were still shaking. Sarah looked through the pictures slowly. She nodded a few times. "This is excellent work," she said finally. "You have real talent, Tom." "Thank you," Tom said. He wasn't used to compliments. Sarah put down the folder. "I want you to make me a new desk, 2 bookcases, and a meeting table with chairs. How long would that take?" Tom thought carefully. "About 2 months, if I work every day." "And how much would it cost?" Sarah asked. Tom had thought about this all night. He needed to ask for enough money, but not too much. For all of that, $12,000. He held his breath. It was more money than he had ever asked for. Sarah smiled. "That's all." "For custom work like this?" Tom nodded slowly. "Tom, that's not enough. I'll pay you $30,000, and I'll give you half now so you can buy materials and pay your rent." Tom couldn't believe what he was hearing. $30,000. "Are you sure?" "I'm very sure," Sarah said. "Quality work deserves proper payment." She opened a drawer and took out a paper. "This is a contract. It says you'll make the furniture for me, and I'll pay you. My lawyer wrote it this morning." Tom read the paper carefully. It was just as Sarah had said. "I'll need to measure your office," Tom said. "And we should talk about what kind of wood you want." Sarah nodded. "Let's do that now. Then my assistant will take you to buy whatever you need." As they talked about the furniture, Tom started to relax. This was his world. Wood, design, measurements. He knew what he was doing here. What he didn't know was that Sarah was testing him. She wanted to see if he was as good as she thought. And so far, he was passing every test. 2 weeks passed. Tom worked harder than he ever had before, with the money Sarah gave him. He paid his rent and bought the best wood he could find. He spent long days in his workshop, cutting, sanding, and shaping the wood for Sarah's furniture. Mr. Peters, his landlord, was surprised when Tom paid his rent on time, plus the money he owed from before. "Did you rob a bank?" Mr. Peters joked. Tom smiled. "No, I got a big job from someone important." At night, Tom would draw new designs for the furniture. He wanted everything to be perfect. This was his big chance, and he couldn't mess it up. One day, while Tom was working on the desk, there was a knock at his workshop door. It was Sarah. She stood there without her crutch, looking better. "Sarah, I didn't expect you," Tom said, surprised. His workshop was dusty and small. He felt embarrassed. "I wanted to see how the work is coming along," Sarah said. She looked around with interest. "I hope that's okay." "Of course," Tom said, "but I could have sent you pictures." Sarah walked to the half-finished desk. She ran her hand over the smooth wood. "Pictures don't show the real quality. I wanted to see for myself." Tom showed her the desk and the parts of the bookcase he had started. He explained how the wood was joined without nails, how the drawers would slide open smoothly, and how the finish would protect the wood for years. Sarah listened carefully, asking smart questions. Tom realized she really understood what made good furniture special. "Why did you become a carpenter?" Sarah asked. They were sitting on stools, drinking coffee Tom had made. "My father taught me," Tom said. "He was a carpenter too. He could make anything from wood. When I was little, he let me help in his shop." "Where is he now?" Sarah asked. Tom looked down at his coffee. "He died 5 years ago. Heart attack. My mom died when I was 12, so now it's just me." "I'm sorry," Sarah said softly. "It's okay," Tom said. "He left me his tools and taught me everything he knew. When I make something good, I feel like he's still here, watching over me." Sarah nodded like she understood. "My parents are gone too. My father started the company, but I've run it since I was 25. Tom was surprised. He had never thought about Sarah having a family or a past. To him, she had just been a rich, successful woman. It must be hard, running such a big company, Tom said. Sarah sighed. Sometimes. People are always watching, waiting for me to fail. Some of the men who work for me think a woman shouldn't be in charge. Tom shook his head. That's not fair. You built the company into what it is now. How do you know that? Sarah asked, curious. Tom blushed. I looked you up online. Your company was small when you took over. Now it's one of the biggest in the country. Sarah smiled. You did your homework. I wanted to know who I was working for, Tom said simply. They talked for another hour. Tom learned that Sarah lived alone in a big house, that she liked hiking in the mountains, and that she worked too much. Sarah learned that Tom dreamed of having his own furniture store one day, that he loved old movies, and that he hadn't taken a vacation in 3 years. As she was leaving, Sarah turned to Tom. I'm having a small dinner party next week. Nothing fancy, just a few friends. Would you like to come? Tom was surprised. Me? At your house? Yes, Sarah said. Thursday at 7 o'clock. My driver will pick you up. After she left, Tom sat in his workshop, thinking, why would someone like Sarah want him at her party? He was just a carpenter. Her friends were probably all rich and important. But something told him this invitation was important, and he couldn't say no to the woman who had changed his life. Thursday came quickly. Tom stood in front of his small mirror, trying to fix his tie. He had bought a new shirt and tie for the dinner party. It wasn't expensive, but it was the best he could afford. He wanted to look good at Sarah's house. At 6:30, the black car arrived. The same driver from before smiled at Tom. Ready for the party, Mr. Wilson? I think so, Tom said, though he felt nervous. The drive to Sarah's house took 30 minutes. They left the city and went up into the hills where the big houses were. When they reached Sarah's house, Tom's mouth fell open. It wasn't just a house. It was like a small castle. It had big stone walls and many windows. The driveway was long, with pretty gardens on both sides. Tom had never seen a home so big. Ms. Chen is waiting inside, the driver said, opening Tom's door. Tom walked slowly to the front door. Before he could knock, it opened. A man in a black suit stood there. Mr. Wilson, please come in. Ms. Chen is in the living room. Tom followed the man through a large entry hall. The floors were made of shiny stone. Big paintings hung on the walls. Everything looked expensive and perfect. The living room was huge. It had high ceilings and windows that went from floor to ceiling. Outside, Tom could see city lights in the distance. About 10 people stood around, holding drinks and talking. Sarah saw Tom and walked over. She wore a simple black dress and looked beautiful. Tom, I'm so glad you came, she said with a big smile. She took his arm. Come meet my friends. Sarah introduced Tom to everyone. There was a famous doctor, a woman who owned many restaurants, and a man who wrote books. They all seemed nice, but Tom felt out of place. And what do you do, Tom? The doctor asked. Before Tom could answer, Sarah spoke up. Tom is an artist. He works with wood. He's making new furniture for my office. The doctor looked interested. Really? Handmade furniture is so rare these days. Everyone buys mass-produced stuff that falls apart in a year. That's what I always say, Tom said, forgetting to be nervous. Good furniture should last a lifetime. As the night went on, Tom relaxed. The food was amazing. He had never tasted such good cooking. The wine was expensive, but Tom only had one glass. He wanted to keep a clear head. After dinner, people moved back to the living room. Tom noticed something strange. All the furniture in Sarah's house was beautiful, but it didn't feel personal. It looked like it came from a magazine, not a home. Sarah came to stand beside him. What are you thinking? She asked. Your house is beautiful, Tom said honestly. But what? Sarah asked. It doesn't feel like you. Tom said. Then he worried he had said too much. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. But Sarah didn't look upset. She looked thoughtful. You're right, she said quietly. I had a designer do everything when I bought this place. I was too busy to pick things myself. They stood in silence for a moment. The furniture you're making for my office, Sarah said. It will be different. It will have character. Tom nodded. That's what I try to do. Make things with soul. As the party ended, Sarah walked Tom to the door. Thank you for coming, she said. Thank you for inviting me, Tom replied. I had a good time. Sarah smiled. Next week, when you deliver the desk, stay for dinner. Just the two of us. I want to hear more about furniture with soul. On the ride home, Tom thought about the evening. Sarah lived in a different world from him. Her friends were important people. Her house was like something from a movie. But when they talked, those differences didn't seem to matter. Tom felt like Sarah really saw him, not just as a carpenter, but as a person with ideas and dreams. What he didn't know was that Sarah was thinking the same thing about him. 3 more weeks passed. Tom finished Sarah's desk. It was the best thing he had ever made. The wood was dark cherry, polished until it glowed. The drawers opened with just a touch. He had carved small leaves around the edges, each one perfect. Today was the day he would deliver it to Sarah's office. He had rented a small truck to carry the desk safely. His hands shook as he loaded it. This desk could change his life. When Tom arrived at the Chen Technologies building, people were waiting to help him. They wore white gloves to protect the wood. Tom led them carefully, making sure the desk wasn't scratched. In the elevator going up, Tom thought about the dinner with Sarah tonight. He wasn't nervous about seeing her anymore. In the past weeks, she had visited his workshop 3 more times. They had become friends. When the elevator doors opened, Sarah was waiting. She wore a red dress today and looked happy to see Tom. Is it finished? She asked excitedly. Tom nodded. It's ready. The men carefully carried the desk into Sarah's office. They set it where the old desk had been. When they left, Sarah walked slowly around the new desk, not touching it yet. It's beautiful, she said softly. Even better than I imagined. Tom stood nearby, watching her face. This was his favorite part of the job, seeing someone fall in love with something he had made. Sarah ran her hand over the smooth top. The wood feels warm. That's why I love working with wood, Tom said. It's alive in a way other materials aren't. Sarah opened each drawer, admiring how smoothly they moved. Then she noticed the small leaves carved around the edges. These weren't in the design we talked about, she said, touching one gently. Tom looked worried. I hope that's okay. I wanted to add something special. It's more than okay, Sarah said. It's perfect. She sat down in her chair behind the desk. It feels right. Like it was made just for me. It was, Tom said simply. Sarah looked up at him. You have an amazing gift, Tom. This isn't just furniture. It's art. Tom felt his face get warm. He wasn't used to such praise. The bookcases will be done next week, he said. And the table the week after that. Sarah nodded. I can't wait to see them. She looked at her watch. It's almost 5. Should we go to dinner now? They went to a small restaurant near the office. It wasn't fancy, but the food was good. Tom had been worried about the dinner, but it was easy to talk to Sarah. They laughed and shared stories like old friends. So what happens when you finish all my furniture? Sarah asked as they ate dessert. Tom looked down at his plate. I don't know. Back to making small things and hoping to find customers, I guess. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I have an idea, but I'm not sure if you'll like it. What is it? Tom asked. Chen Technologies is opening a new building next month, Sarah explained. We need furniture for the whole place. Desks, tables, bookcases, everything. Tom's eyes grew wide. That's a huge job. Way too big for just me. I know, Sarah said. But what if it wasn't just you? What if you had a workshop and people working for you? Tom couldn't believe what he was hearing. You want me to make furniture for your whole company? Sarah nodded. Yes, and I'm willing to help you start a real business to do it. I can provide money for a bigger workshop, tools, and workers to help you. Tom felt like he couldn't breathe. This was bigger than anything he had ever dreamed of. Why would you do this for me? He asked. Sarah looked him in the eyes. Because you helped me when I needed it, without knowing who I was. Because you're talented. And because I believe in you. Tom didn't know what to say. In just a few weeks, his life had changed completely. All because he stopped to help a stranger on a rainy night. 3 months later, Tom stood in his new workshop. It was big and bright, with tall windows and new tools. 5 people worked for him now, all good carpenters who shared his love for wood. The workshop was in an old warehouse that Sarah had helped him buy. Outside, a new sign read Wilson Fine Furniture. Tom still couldn't believe it was his. Mr. Wilson, the oak for the 5th floor desks just arrived, said Maria, one of his workers. She had been a carpenter for 20 years, but never had a steady job until now. Thanks, Maria. Let's check it, Tom said. Together they looked at the wood, making sure it was good quality. Tom had taught his team to be careful about every piece of wood they used. Perfect, Tom said. We can start cutting tomorrow. The order for Chen Technologies was their biggest job. Desks for 5 floors, tables for meeting rooms, cabinets for break rooms, and much more. It would take 6 months to finish it all. But Tom had other customers now too. Word had spread about his work, and orders were coming in from other companies. At the end of the day, Tom locked up the workshop. He was tired but happy. His old truck was parked outside next to the company van he had bought last month. He still drove his truck most days. It reminded him of where he came from. Tom drove to Sarah's office. Every Friday, they met to talk about the furniture order and have dinner after. These meetings were Tom's favorite part of the week. When he arrived, Sarah's assistant smiled at him. Go right in, Mr. Wilson. She's waiting for you. Sarah was standing by the window when Tom entered. The desk he had made looked perfect in her office. The bookcases were filled with books and small pieces of art. The room felt warm and personal now. Right on time, Sarah said, turning to greet him. How was your day? Busy, Tom said. The oak arrived for the 5th floor, and we got a new order from that law firm downtown. Sarah smiled. That's great. Your business is growing fast. They sat down to review the furniture plans. Tom showed Sarah pictures of the latest pieces his team had finished. Sarah asked smart questions and gave helpful suggestions. After an hour, they were done with business. Sarah stood up. Ready for dinner. I found a new place I think you'll like. The restaurant was small and cozy. They sat at a table in the corner, away from other people. This had become their routine. Every Friday, a quiet dinner together. I have something for you, Tom said after they ordered. He took a small box from his pocket and handed it to Sarah. Sarah opened it carefully. Inside was a wooden pendant on a silver chain. The pendant was carved in the shape of a small leaf, like the ones on her desk. I made it myself, Tom said, to say thank you for everything you've done for me. Sarah touched the pendant gently. It's beautiful, Tom. I know you have expensive jewelry, Tom said quickly. This isn't worth much money, but... Stop, Sarah said. This is worth more to me than any diamond. You made it with your hands. She put the necklace on. The wooden leaf rested against her neck. I have news too, Sarah said. The board of directors love the furniture for the new building so much that they want to feature your story in our company magazine. From roadside rescue to company partner. Tom laughed. That sounds like a fairy tale. Isn't it though? Sarah asked, smiling. The broke carpenter who helped a stranger and had his life changed. Tom looked at Sarah. She wasn't just a business partner anymore. She was his friend. Maybe even something more. My life did change, Tom said, but not just because of the business. Sarah reached across the table and took his hand. She understood what he meant. Outside the restaurant, rain started to fall, just like the night they first met. But this time, neither of them was alone or in trouble. They were together, and everything was different. 1 year had passed since the rainy night when Tom found Sarah on the road. So much had changed that it felt like a dream. Today was a special day. Wilson Fine Furniture was opening its first store. The workshop had grown too small as more orders came in. Now they had a beautiful showroom where people could see and buy Tom's furniture. The store was in the middle of the city. Large windows showed handmade tables, chairs, and cabinets inside. The sign above the door was made of wood, carved by Tom himself. Tom stood inside, looking around nervously. In 1 hour, the doors would open to the public. Reporters from local newspapers and TV stations would be there too. Tom had never liked being the center of attention, but Sarah said this was important for the business. "Everything looks perfect," said a voice behind him. It was Sarah, beautiful in a green dress, the wooden leaf pendant around her neck. She rarely took it off. "Do you really think people will come?" Tom asked. Sarah laughed. "Tom, there's already a line outside. And we have orders for the next 6 months." Tom nodded, but still looked worried. "What's really bothering you?" Sarah asked gently. Tom sighed. "Sometimes I can't believe this is my life now. Last year I couldn't pay my rent. Now I have a business, employees who count on me, and—" He paused, looking at Sarah. "And?" she asked. "And you," Tom said simply. "Sometimes I worry it will all disappear, that I'll wake up and be back in my old life." Sarah took his hand. "This isn't a dream, Tom. You earned this through hard work and talent. No one gave you anything you didn't deserve." Tom squeezed her hand. "Thank you for believing in me." Just then, Tom's phone rang. It was Maria from the workshop. "Boss, I think you should come outside. There's something you need to see." Tom and Sarah walked to the front of the store. When they opened the door, Tom stopped in surprise. Parked at the curb was a new delivery truck. It was dark blue with Wilson Fine Furniture painted on the side in gold letters. Standing next to the truck were all of Tom's workers, smiling widely. "What is this?" Tom asked, confused. Maria stepped forward. "We all chipped in to buy this. You've been using your old truck to deliver furniture, and we thought the company needed something better." Tom was speechless. His workers, people who had their own families to support, had bought this for him. "I don't know what to say," Tom said, his voice thick with emotion. "You don't need to say anything," Maria replied. "You gave us all jobs we love. This is our way of saying thank you." The store opening was a huge success. People came all day to see the furniture. Many placed orders. Reporters took pictures and asked Tom questions about his story. "How did you go from struggling carpenter to successful business owner in just 1 year?" a reporter asked. Tom looked at Sarah, who stood nearby talking to customers. "I stopped to help someone on a rainy night," he said, "and that changed everything." Later that evening, after everyone had gone home, Tom and Sarah sat alone in the quiet store. "I have something to ask you," Sarah said. She seemed nervous, which was unusual for her. "What is it?" Tom asked. "The company is opening offices in Europe next year. I'll need to travel there often." Tom felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Would Sarah leave? Would everything change again? "I want you to come with me," Sarah continued. "Not just for the furniture business, but because I don't want to be apart from you." Relief and happiness filled Tom's heart. "I'd go anywhere with you," he said. Sarah smiled and took his hand. Who would have thought that a car accident would lead to all this? Tom looked around at the beautiful store, thought of his growing business, and then looked at Sarah, the most amazing part of his new life. "Maybe it wasn't an accident at all," he said softly. "Maybe it was meant to be." Outside, rain began to fall, just like the night they met. But this time, they watched it together, safe and happy, with a bright future ahead of them. The end.